Plenty of us Scream fans wish that Randy Meeks lived in Scream 2 because we can only imagine how much his character would have evolved. But then I've been seeing a lot of things lately about the topic of Scream 2, and it makes me want to ask this question to you guys. What if Dewey and Randy switch fates in Scream 2? Meaning, what if good old Deputy Dewey Riley was the one to answer the phone instead of Randy Meeks? What if Dewey Riley and Randy Meeks switched fates in Scream 2, meaning Dewey Riley was the one to bite the dust and Randy Meeks lived, but yet he still got Dewey's attack scene in Scream 2 but still somehow lived? And I'm going to say it right now, I kind of wish we would have seen that because I truly think this would have impacted the franchise in so many ways. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the character of Dewey Riley, and he was a beloved character in the first Scream movie when these movies first came out. And everyone was happy and relieved to see that Dewey Riley survived the first Scream movie. Granted, we all thought he bit the dust in that one. But just imagine how much of a gut punch it would have been if we seen Dewey Riley get the van attack scene in Scream 2 instead of Randy Meeks, and Randy went off with Gale Weathers to try and find Ghostface. That would have sucked so much, but I truly think Dewey's death in Scream 2 would have been a more emotional gut punch than Randy Meeks. Now, don't get me wrong, Randy Meeks' death in Scream 2 still hurts a lot of Scream fans, and it sucks. I wish he lived till the end and finally got the girl, Sidney Prescott. But let's be honest, Dewey's role in Scream 3 would have been perfect for Randy Meeks. Because really think about it, Scream 3 is essentially murders in Hollywood on the Stab 3 film set. And it just makes a lot of sense for Randy Meeks to be a consulate on that set. Now, granted, they had to change the whole story because originally Matthew Lillard was going to come back as Stu Macher. It was going to have high schoolers attack Sidney Prescott while he was set in prison, but Columbine incident happened and just, they had to change the whole story. But I would have loved to see Randy Meeks during the events of Scream 3 because, let's be honest, Randy Meeks was going to take anything he can to get a big break in Hollywood, especially if it was for fucking horror movies. And we all know Roman Bridger would have targeted Randy Meeks from the get-go. There is no denying it because Randy Meeks just knows how to survive a horror movie. I mean, in Scream, he knew Billy was the killer. Granted, he didn't know Stu Macher could have been a killer, but maybe he had his suspicions. And in Scream 2, he kind of figured, Mickey was the killer, especially in this deleted scene right here.
Am I really dead? I can't believe that is the stupidest thing in the world. You're gonna kill me? Why would you kill me? I'm the voice of the audience. The one guy who can lead you to the quagmire? That's great. The one guy who can tell you the rules, you're gonna kill him. Who's the brain trust that came up with that? Great. How do you stay alive, Dewey? First of all, if you guys are watching this tape at Windsor College and the killer is still at work, my money's on Mickey. I remember this time he wrote this paper on why Superman 2 was better than Superman 1. Never sat right with me.
He also called, Mrs. Loomis being a killer. Now, granted, he did say it was going to be Haley, but he did call a female killer in Scream 2, so he does know his shit. So it makes him a top target for Roman, because I'm pretty sure Randy would have put 2 and 2 together. And sadly, I do think if Randy did make it to Scream 3, this is where he would have died. But I think he would have had an emotional death, and that would have been such a gut punch to end the series. Kind of bittersweet with him revealing that he's always loved Sidney Prescott, and he finally got to be the hero who finally got to get the girl. But if somehow this dude had plot armor like Dewey Riley, I would have loved to see his take on reboots and remakes, and I would have loved to see if he could figure out if Charlie Walker and even Sidney Prescott's cousin Jill were the killers. And I just can only imagine the banter you would have with Charlie and Robbie when it came to remakes and reboots. And I'm pretty sure Randy Meeks would have hated them just as much as a lot of horror fans do. But I'm pretty sure Randy would have died in Scream 4 if he didn't die in Scream 3. For sure. Also, I'm going to call it right now. I guarantee Randy Meeks would have been a film teacher at Woodsboro High School. And it would have been funny if he was the teacher of everyone there. So, it kind of makes sense for him to be there. But if somehow Randy still survived past Scream 4, Scream 5, I think he would have taken Dewey's death. I truly think Randy Meeks would have bit the dust in Scream 5. And it would have been interesting to see his interactions with his nephew and niece, Mindy Meeks and Chad Meeks. I can't see Randy going past 5. And if he somehow made it to Scream 6, I'm just going to say it right now, Randy Meeks would have been a badass FBI agent. Not saying I didn't like Kirby Reed at all. I love seeing her return to Scream 6 as an FBI agent. But like I said, Randy Meeks just knew who the killers were, or he had an idea. So I'm just gonna say it right now. He would have been a badass FBI agent, but yet again, if he was, the movies would have ended so quickly because he would have figured out, yep, you're the killer. But I think most of all, I just would have wanted to see how much Gale would have evolved if Dewey Riley died in Scream 2. Now, we all know that Randy's death in Scream 2 did change her because Randy was an innocent kid who died on her watch, you know, he didn't deserve it. But just imagine if Dewey was the one to bite the dust in the van, if he was the one to get pulled inside the van. I truly think Gale would have evolved so much more and probably a lot more darker because Dewey was her rock, was her light in the hour of darkness. And you take him away in Scream 2, I think she could have stopped and became a ghostface killer. I think she would have snapped and maybe became Roman's partner in Scream 3, or maybe she could have been a ghostface killer in Scream 4. We don't know, but I think that would have been so interesting to see. I just would have loved it. I think it would have been cool. And where does that leave Sydney and Randy? Would they have gotten together? Would they have been a couple or just remain very close friends? Now, Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson did say that they never really intended for Randy to ever get with Sidney Prescott, but let's be honest. I think they would have gotten together. I truly think they would have gotten together, especially if Randy Meek survived in Scream 3. They would have been a married couple. So just imagine how much it would have sucked if Randy bit the dust in either 4 and 5 if you lived past Scream 3 while he was married to Sidney Prescott. But yet again, it's like they killed so much of Sidney's loved ones. Could he really take Randy Meeks away from her? Like, that just would have sucked so bad if we saw that happen. And it's just interesting because if they did switch fates, our big three would have been Gale Weathers, Randy Meeks, and Sidney Prescott. And a lot of us Scream fans are always going to appreciate and love the OG trio of Gale Weathers, Dewey Riley, and Sidney Prescott. But I'm always going to wonder and just kind of wish that Randy was the one to be part of that trio and that Dewey Riley was the one to bite the dust in Scream 2. Because it would have been quite interesting just how much the franchise would have changed, relationships would have changed. Would Gale still be close with Randy and Sidney? Would she kind of just go off to the side, you know, fall into madness and darkness and maybe become a Ghostface killer? Or maybe be an anti-hero? Who knows? It just would have been interesting to see. If they just switched fates, it would have been such an interesting thing to see, and so much shit would have changed in this franchise. But I leave it to you guys. Would you have wanted to see it? What do you think would have happened if they did switch fates? Do you think Randy Meeks would have made it past Scream 3, 4, and 5? Where do you think he would have bit the dust? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.